I remember back in the day when the left was considered reasonable, people who championed free speech and the exchange of ideas. They still exist, but they're now considered far right. Much of what is considered left these days is essentially a cult. Social punishment for dissent, moral absolutism, ideology becomes identity, heavy boundary enforcement mechanisms. Their idols? Science, logic, reason, and empathy. These words have become symbols rather than methods. They are used as frames to elevate themselves as intellectually and morally superior to the opposition rather than applied methods. They often ridicule Christians for their religious dogmatic beliefs, not realizing they're just as dogmatic, arguably more so, which makes them functionally no different to religion. They weaponize morality to shame and exclude those who do not align with their moral framework. To get this out of the way, humans are just fundamentally religious. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not. Of course, philosophy and religion are different. However, most humans treat philosophy as functionally the same as religion. Much of philosophy is comforting fiction anyway. Whether it's existentialism, absurdism, stoicism, or whatever, they all function as comforting fictions to soothe the quote unquote existential void. Reframe experiences, and existence in general, as meaningful stories. Nietzsche and his will to power and amor fati, Camus and his rebellion, or the Stoics' alignment with the Logos. Their ideas are no more profound than religion. This is philosophy as comforting fiction. There's also philosophy as a tool meant for questioning assumptions, examining evidence, and revising beliefs when new information appears. Humans, however, crave for coherence and stability, so we have a tendency to ossify our beliefs into sacred ideas and identities. Philosophy is only software, and the human psyche is the hardware. Even people who intellectually value critical thinking settle into stable moral frameworks to defend. A really good example of this is Andrew Wilson and Matt Dillahunty. The topic was about Christian ethics versus secular humanism. It showcases how secularism can become rigid and dogmatic. Here's the clip.
The topic is Christian ethics versus secular humanism. Which has a better foundation? The funny thing is, I already won that topic because, as Matt explained to Jay Dyer, he has no justification under the skeptical belief structure to give an accounting for any meta-ethical presupposition he may have. He just kind of grants himself stuff. He grants himself logic, he grants himself reason, he grants himself an entire worldview, even though he's using an unjustified starting position for it. My contention is, even if God isn't real at all, that people acting as though he is still superior to whatever nonsensical egalitarian worldview Matt can come up with. You see, human flourishing, the cornerstone of Matt's ideology and that of secular humanism, is totally meaningless. Flourishing by whose metric? From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie to people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why? Why should the collective of humanity lie and say men can get pregnant? Why should they say that men can have periods? Things which are categorically and obviously false. That preserving homosexuality in society is good for human flourishing, even though they are reproductive dead ends. And that Western society and egalitarianism is superior to those evil theist society, even though the Western nations can't even reproduce their own populations, but instead have to replace their population with foreigners from those theist nations that can reproduce. Super basic question every kindergartner knows. If you don't believe me, go watch Kindergarten Cop. The question posed to the Western nation is, can a man be a woman? All right? To the question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved. Thank you, secular humanists. Why, you ask, would people be this over-the-top stupid? Well, it's simple. The good is the good, man. We have to do what's good for human society and human flourishing. And if you don't call these deranged lunatics something they obviously aren't, they might self-terminate. So in order to avoid that, we need to make everybody on planet Earth lie to them. This is human flourishing. With that, I'll yield my time, and I'm happy to get into it.
Hey, James, I just sent you a message.
All right. We are going to kick it into an open discussion, so 50 minutes, and let's kick it.
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to sit here and dignify the preparation that I went through and what people were here for.
You're so indignant.
Keep interrupting me.
I am.
Okay.
You're so indignant.
Would the moderator like to step in so that I can finish what I'm saying?
Please, Matt. Please. How dare someone have an opposing worldview?
I'm not going to sit here and dignify what was supposed to be a debate about Christianity versus secular humanism, which one's better for the world,
Yes.
with someone who clearly showed up with an agenda that has nothing to do with that.
I just let
Someone who refers to trans people as deranged lunatics who will self-terminate if you dare to question them.
How am I wrong, Matt?
I came in with positions that aren't
your
just
positions.
that aren't merely my positions.
Oh, well, as long as multiple people hold the position, it
This
makes it
guy's
valid.
not serious, and I'm leaving. James, if you want a refund, you
Well,
let me
good
know.
day, sir. And I'll cover your refund, Mr.
Cool.
Matt.
He just said he'd cover my
I
refund.
would cover his refund.
No, I'm not going to dignify a debate with someone who walked in to trash talk people and be smug and all of the things that he's being right now. He's already said he will cover my expenses. You don't have anything to worry about. This debate is over. Goodbye,
Goodbye.
jackass.
Did you call me a jackass, Matt? Well, you and your husband have a good day, Matt. Have a wonderful day, Matt.
I do think Andrew's opening statement could have been more about the tenets of secular humanism, but you can't really argue against secular humanism because it's a pragmatic framework on how to approach life. However, it is vague enough that what counts as flourishing remains subjective. Andrew went for the kill shot and approached his opening statement with secular humanism's application on the topic of transgender. What Andrew did is go for a topic where most leftists are most ideologically captured, where their beliefs override observable reality. The surface level he brought up was compelled speech and gender affirmation. But if you go down the rabbit hole, you'll eventually end up in morally questionable positions like puberty blockers, trans children, surgical, and pharmaceutical castration. All of which liberals will hunt you down if you express dissenting views or even a modicum of nuance. This topic basically puts most of its tenets on the chopping block: rationalism, science, naturalism, human centric ethics, focus on this life, individual responsibility. Keep in mind that there are LGBT conservatives who are against this radical gender ideology, but people like Matt are both audience captured and ideologically captured. Don't even get me started with trans women in women's sports. They will point to science, but if you disagree, they will label you as someone who rejects science. Science, by definition, is meant to be provisional, so disagreements and critique are supposed to be welcomed. But no, science has become its own clergy to dictate what is true and what is false, rather than a tool to approximate reality. How is this not religious when leftists can't even decide what a woman is? Of course, Matt Dillahunty left, framing his surrender as, "I will not dignify his position." This is a common liberal framing to end conversations by redefining it as morally illegitimate rather than something intellectually debatable. It puts any position outside their beliefs as morally beyond the boundary, and discussion itself becomes suspect. Does this sound familiar? It should. Liberals love to use words like Nazi, fascist, phobic, and incel. This is no different than heretic or blasphemer. Excommunication and social exile is something many liberals do. For those who are employed, there's the streamer by the name of Emeru, who was asked by a chatter what her thoughts and opinions were on ICE. Here's her response.
Like, there's a certain extent where I'm like, okay, sure, I get people wanting big content creators to, like, say their opinions on, like, important topics. I get that, right? But it's like, if you need a streamer who doesn't even know anything about politics to tell you about politics, you probably just need to, like, get off the internet. Like, just stop. Like, hello? Like, I don't, like, what? Like, how am I gonna, I don't know. Get help.
What she said was perfectly reasonable. She is not knowledgeable on the topic, so it's understandable why she would refuse. Even if she was knowledgeable, she's not a political streamer. Twitter, however, did not like this. These tweets are screenshots from Shonehead's video because I can't bother. The common tweet said something along the lines of, "How hard is it to say fuck ICE?" It's literally the say the line meme.
Say the line, Bart!
Fuck ICE becomes some kind of mantra or ritual as proof of moral alignment with these leftist zealots. Many also said, "Emmy doesn't have a mind of her own." The irony here, these words come from people who copy paste socially acceptable political opinions with no critical thought of their own. Having a stance is not the same as critical thinking. If anything, people who believe in open borders show the opposite. Some tweets were just deranged. They are so morally bankrupt that her disagreeing made them think she deserved the abuse from her ex. Another tweet said they'd laugh the next time she'd get SA'd. Keep in mind, she was a victim of SA from a random guy on TwitchCon not too long ago. Someone even said they hope she'd get R-worded at her next meetup. Keep in mind that these are the same people who claim the moral high ground. But what you should understand is that these people don't call you a Nazi or fascist because you are. They call you these things to justify punching you, or worse. Example being Charlie Kirk. Instead of condemning the shooter, what we got instead was them celebrating. Of course, there were a small minority of liberals who condemned these individuals, but most likely they got labeled as alt-right anyway. Minorities do exist on the right. However, just like Emeru, they are criticized by the left. An example would be this Latino ICE agent being called a race traitor by a liberal white Karen.
How does it feel to be a race traitor?
You know, we were trying to get a child molester, right?
No, you weren't.
Yes, we were.
How would you know?
Because it was a woman you talked
No.
to.
His wife?
And then his plate came back as
Also,
murder.
I just want to say, calling someone a race traitor,
But you guys don't care.
I hope you realize that is the most racist thing you can say as a
It's
white
incredible.
woman.
Of course,
And
it
just
is.
so you know, this isn't a good look for you.
You think I care about my look.
No, oh no, trust me.
When you guys
It
are-
is evident by how you look, you don't care. We get that, trust me. No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying this, trying to be a social warrior. If you actually cared, you probably would care about the child who got raped and also the person who got murdered by the person that we were looking for. But see, you don't care.
No, I don't care because you guys
Thank
try.
you. Thank you.
Another example is this black ICE agent being called the N-word by liberals.
Sir, I need to move.
House nigga working for the fucking KKK.
Why are you calling a woman a man? I mean, what kind of a guy does?
Don't give me that both sides shit, because no shit, it's both sides. But the left's display of unquestioned dogma and moral purity far exceeds whatever the right does. I'm a left-leaning atheist whose morals closely resemble secular humanism, but even I find it ironic how the right is more ideologically tolerant than the left. It probably became more tolerant because so many classical liberals became labeled as alt-right. You can't really have reasonable discussions with these people. The only solution is to use their tools against them. They must be shamed, ridiculed, and socially excluded. There's this liberal belief that enforcing your moral framework is immoral. Perhaps. But a moral framework that does not impose itself will get subsumed by one that does.